Okay, great to see all of you. Happy Hanukkah, good afternoon, good Erev Shabbos, and all the other wonderful things we say to each other. It is Friday, and therefore we will do a Rashi on the 6th Aliyah, on today's Aliyah. Yesterday we left off in the midst of the story of Yehuda convincing Yaakov that he could indeed send Binyamin down with the rest of the brothers back to see Yosef. Yosef, who they don't know is Yosef yet, but the viceroy of Egypt makes a condition with the brothers that if they are ever to come back to Egypt, they must come with their younger brother Binyamin. The brothers indeed want to go back. They want to get more food. They want to release Shimon from prison. They want to give back the money that was placed in their bags upon their first return to the land of Canaan. For all those reasons, they want to go back. Yaakov is hesitant. Yehuda convinces him, Anochi Erevenu, I'm going to be his guarantor. I'm going to take him. And as we saw yesterday in the Rashi, Yehuda strikes at the moment when Yaakov is most vulnerable, when there is no food left in the house, and hunger and desperation causes a person to do things that they would never otherwise do. So despite Yaakov's refusal to send Binyamin over and over, despite his fears and hesitations, because they catch him in that moment, he agrees to let them go. And the story of our Aliyah begins as they enter Egypt again. And Yosef, from a distance, sees them coming and tries to bring them into his home, gives them special treatment, tries to prepare the meal, feigning, of course, the plot to kind of catch them and to investigate them and to see if they fulfill their end of the bargain, but secretly trying to bring them closer to him. So as he engages them in his home, preparing them for the meal, as they come into the home, the first thing that they say in their introduction to the servants in the home, Vayikshu el ha'ish asher al ha'beit Yosef, they all approach the person who's in charge of the household, who's greeting them into the house of Yosef. Vayedibru elav petach habayit. They speak to him at the opening of the house. What does that conversation look like? What takes place? What do they say to him? Vayomru. They start their story. Bi Adoni, yarod yaradu batchila lishbor ochel. Bi Adoni, please, my master, please, Mr. Servant of Yosef, who I am now seeing as I enter his home, please understand why we are here. Let us explain to you where we've come from, what we're doing here, and why perhaps your boss, Yosef, is inviting us into his home. And so they say, we came down here to get food. Yarod yaradnu batchila lishbor ochel. We first came to get food. But when we left and we stayed at an inn on our way back to our country, we looked in our bags and there was money there, and now we want to return the money, and so on and so forth. They continue the whole story. But the opening phrase is what I want to focus on today. Yarod yaradnu batchila lishbor ochel. At first blush, it seems like an innocent introduction to the story. They're saying, at first, we came down to get food. But as always, every word in the Torah is significant. And Rashi picks up on the fact that they have the double language of Yarod, Yaradnu. They didn't just say, Vayomru, Bi Adoni, please, my master, listen to our story. Yaradnu batchila lishbor ochel. Could have just said, we came down. Yaradnu batchila, at first, lishbor ochel, to get food. But it doesn't. It has the double language of emphasis. Yarod, Yaradnu. We surely went down. Down, we went down. However you want to translate that into English. Yarod, Yaradnu. So what's the further emphasis on the Yerida, on the descent? Rashi points out over here, Yarod, Yaradnu. Yerida hilanu. Regilin hayinu lefarnes es acherim, achshav anu tzrichim lecha. Rashi says, one yaradnu is the physical story. We came down to Egypt. We descended to Egypt. But the double yarod yaradnu, the second yerida, which is mentioned in the pasuk, is not a description of their geographical descent or their travels, but a description of their self-status, their self-reflection upon their own status in life. It's a reflection of the way that they see themselves. And when they look at themselves, they say, Yarod, Yaradnu. We've descended. Why have we descended? Because we used to be the people who, with our wealth, were able to provide sustenance and livelihood for others. We were able to be mefarnes es acherim. We were able to do business with them. We were able to sell them things and sell them food and give away money and give away tzedakah and give away food and provide for others and lift up others. Achshav anu tzrichim lecha. And now we need you. The opposite has happened. We've become the ones in need. We've become the takers rather than the givers. We've become the recipients rather than the providers. I think that is a very, very poignant description of themselves, a very poignant self-reflection, very illustrative of the self-concept that the brothers had at this point in their lives. Very illustrative of the way that they thought of themselves at this point in life. They say to themselves, look, we've really gone down in our status. We used to be the providers, and now we are the takers. This Rashi is interesting on many levels. As I always say, it's interesting because it helps us with the text to understand the double language. It's interesting because, as I just mentioned, it gives us an insight into where the brothers were at. Were they coming like all full of pride and haughtiness, banging down the door, give us our brother, we're here, we fulfilled your promise, give us, we're getting out of here? Or are they coming like as humble servants, we're lost, we don't know where to go. This is not us. How did we get here? And clearly Rashi is saying that the way they think of themselves is the latter. But I want to point something else out, and that is that Rashi is pointing out to us something important about human beings in general, not just about the brothers in this story, but it's pointing out how hard it is for us to be the takers, how hard it is for us sometimes to be recipients of help from others. It's not easy to accept help. And sometimes in life, we desperately need to accept help. It's part of the human condition. It's part of the way we're wired. We cannot live as isolated beings alone. We need help. We need guidance. We need sustenance from others. But it sometimes takes a lot to be able to get there. Sometimes takes a lot to move yourself to actually face the person that you ask for help. And I think we need to be aware of that in ourselves as we ask for help, to be able and ready to do that, even if it doesn't feel good. But also we have to be aware of it from the other side. When sometimes others are coming to us for help and we are the givers, we have to be sensitive to the place they might be at and the feelings they might have of lowliness as they come for help. Never, when we're in a position to help, never to exert that kind of hierarchy of power that we have in that moment over the other person, never to make them feel like we are the haves and they are the have-nots, and we in our position of power and influence and sophistication are coming to help them, whether that's in physical matters, whether that's in financial matters, whether that's in spiritual matters. It applies across the board, but rather to be sensitive to where they're at, try to meet them at their level and help in a genuine way that lifts them rather than puts them down. Wish you all a great Shabbos ahead and a happy end of Hanukkah.
Rabbi, very quickly,
Rabbi,
Take a
may
comment.
remember